and welcome to Crackin' Crime. I'm your host, Jamie Tilson.
And I'm your co-host, Seth Tilson. Just looked up Ancestry, and I have a little French in me. If you play your cards right, you could have a little French in... No, I'm just kidding.
Welcome everybody to Crackin' Crime. Oh, man. I'm excited. Are you excited for tonight?
Oh, I'm giddy. Super.
Oh, that's great. We'd like to thank everybody for tuning into our podcast. It's been a lot of fun here. We've been really liking everybody that's been listening along, and
just giddy. Just real giddy about it.
Just everybody's just giddy about it. You're really giddy about it?
I'm super giddy.
Oh, that's awesome. This week, we are doing a giveaway for floor mats. WeatherTech floor mats, sponsored by Tilson Customs. So if you guys want to get in on the WeatherTech floor mat giveaway, we're doing that next week on the podcast. You have to be listening to... That's where we're doing the giveaway. But in order to get in on it, you got to go to our Facebook page at Crackin' Crime on Facebook.
No shit.
No shit. Yeah, I said that like 8 times, didn't I?
Go to our Facebook page on Instagram / Twitter. Just give us a comment on our YouTube page.
But on Facebook, Crackin' Crime, go in there, like the podcast, like the page, share the post.
Even if you don't like it anyway. It's free stuff.
It is free stuff. We're giving away free stuff.
Give us a listen. You're not doing nothing anyway. It's almost winter. No one's doing nothing except for Canada. Like, those guys love that shit.
They do.
It's always cold there, I hear. At least it looks like it in Letterkenny when I watch it.
They get like a month of nice weather, and then it's just like cold. Yeah.
31 days more than I thought.
Oh, man. So go check us out on that. If you guys want to get in on that, and we're going to talk about it next week. We're also on Patreon. If you want to be a patron on Patreon, we're there. Crackin' Crime.
Or as the French like to say, Patreon.
We do have our one patron, Mr. Mike Garcia from Texas. We really appreciate it.
Muchos gracias. Sorry, I'm not Spanish. I'm French. Trying to learn.
Oh, that is great.
We thank you. Moving on.
Moving on, yeah.
Moving on. I am embarrassed.
That happens quite often.
It does.
It does.
On a regular basis. It starts in the morning when I see my facial hair, or lack thereof.
Lack thereof.
Lack thereof.
We're going to move into our disclaimer. We tell stories with a side of comedy, and we laugh more than we tell stories sometimes. That's just the way we do it here. I don't mean to make fun of anybody, but it's probably going to happen.
That was a Pepsi, not a beer you just heard open either, Grandma. Please don't be mad at me.
So that's how we like stories told, and that's that. So moving on.
And that is that.
That is that. Yeah, we hope you guys enjoy the way that we tell the stories. If you guys want to hear a story told by us, let us know. We did get told about some on Apple Podcasts in Missouri. We're checking into that, and that might be something we're going to be doing.
It sounds very interesting from what I've heard you tell me. It sounds like
yes, and I didn't tell them too much. I didn't tell them too much. What?
I think it's a cult. From just the 2 sentences you told me, it sounded like there's a cult going on there.
It might be. Wow. It might be.
I'm intrigued.
I know. I'm definitely intrigued by it.
That's a little something I like to call a little something.
Oh man! But if anybody's been listening for a little while, we know that the whole point of the podcast is Seth knows nothing.
No idea.
Every time I bring something up to him, He literally has no idea, never heard of it, is always caught off guard. We talked about Wyatt Earp a little bit last week, which we are going to do a full episode on Wyatt Earp because it's very interesting.
Sometimes I leave this studio knowing less than I did when I came, also. So you could probably tell me the same story twice.
And we might do that. Yeah, we might run out of stuff and just do it again.
In a couple years, we'll circle on back. Maybe I'll have a freaking goatee by then.
So yesterday, Seth and I were having a conversation, and he talked about Miranda rights. And
oh, damn.
And he's like giving me the rundown on what's supposed to happen, and he has no idea. So we are today talking about the crazy case of Mr. Miranda. Yeah.
The Miranda?
The Miranda.
The she name is a he, you say.
His name is Ernesto Miranda. He was 24 years old at the time. And we're talking back in 1966, the Supreme Court case, Miranda versus Arizona.
Those are good years, I hear. I wasn't born yet.
1966. It was like, yeah, that was one of the best years.
Yeah, it was a great year, I hear.
Yeah.
That was the year that Walmart was invented.
Ladies and gentlemen, first thing that Seth has told us, so we need to find out if that's true or not. We might need to debunk that, because...
I'll tell you what, I'm going to start randomly stating facts that may or may not be facts. And if you're the first person to post that I'm on bullshit or that it's true... I will tag you in a post, an appreciation post. And that's important. I got like 1,000 friends on Facebook. I think I'm pretty popular because of that. A lot of them I don't even know. I just went through, it was like ad.
That's how you just, nobody knows who you are. They're just not following you either.
No.
Yeah, they see nothing.
People at my school didn't even know who I was.
All right, so let's jump into the case that led to the Supreme Court case and what everybody now knows as the Miranda rights. I know, kind of crazy. Okay, the crime in question occurred March of 1963 when an 18-year-old girl was forcibly grabbed by a man as she walked home from her bus stop after working late in Phoenix, Arizona.
I'd like to pause you for a second because the argument we had yesterday about said Miranda rights was me telling him, an officer of the law, what Miranda rights were and being completely ass wrong. So, sorry for cussing, Grandma. This is an entire episode dedicated to him telling me how wrong I am and why. That is how petty he is being. And I'm not allowed to know what the episodes are. So I came over here nonchalantly thinking we're going to have a good time. And now that we're already live, I am being told that you're going to make fun of me for half an hour to an hour.
This is 30 minutes of me proving Seth wrong. Just for fun. Yeah.
And he's my ride. Like I can't leave. Where am I going to go? His living room?
Yeah, you can sit in there until I'm done. I don't think the listeners would like that though much. You're half of the duo, right? Otherwise, it's just a solo guy telling stories.
I'll third at best. All right, let's go.
Okay.
All
right. So the attacker. I've been doing that a lot lately. Yeah.
Speech classes are pretty cheap.
So she was grabbed and she was drugged into a vehicle. Her hands were tied behind her back, and then she was forced to lie down in the back seat of the vehicle. They drove for about 20 minutes, and then the man stopped outside of the city and then raped her. I know, awful.
Cowardly.
He demanded that she gives him her money and told her to lie down again in the back seat, which she did. He then drove her back into the city, dropped her off just blocks from her house, and then he left. She then calls the police, reports to the police. Now the police are on the lookout of this vehicle, right? So days after reporting the incident to Phoenix police, the 18-year-old girl and her cousin noticed a car driving slowly near the same bus stop that she was picked up before. They reported the suspicious car's partial license plate to police, And then police tracked the sedan to 29-year-old Twyla Hoffman, who was living nearby. Twyla?
Twila?
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 Twila. Twyla. We're going to go with Twyla.
Well, I'm not going to say it, but I hope that what goes around comes around to him when he goes to prison, which hopefully he does.
So it kind of does, except he's kind of... Other than nobody really know, but I mean, we use his last name as part of the warning.
Sucks to boost someone's name, or I mean, even though it's not boosting it, but it's just for his name to be.
It's named after him, even though it doesn't benefit him.
Yeah.
It doesn't end up benefiting him in the end, but it does then become. What we'll get there.
Yeah, we'll get there.
We'll get there. Okay, so Twyla had a live-in boyfriend by the name of Ernesto Miranda. When police showed up at the girlfriend's door, Ernesto spoke to them and agreed to go to the police station, and then he would talk to him about the crime. So, the victim was really unable to make an immediate identification from the four-man lineup, but then police, brought her into the room and, had her then identify him. And when Miranda was asked afterwards, how did I do? The captain said, not too good, Ernie. So Miranda was then questioned for 2 hours without a lawyer. At one point, the detectives brought the victim into the room. One of them asked Miranda, or Ernesto, if this was the person that he had raped. And then he looked at her and said, yep, that's the girl. He eventually offered details of the crimes that closely matched the victim's account. He agreed to formalize his confession in a written statement, which he then wrote out under the words, this confession was made with full knowledge of legal rights, understanding any statement I make may be used against me. He wrote that in his statement. His confession was the sole evidence at the trial. That's all they had.
Her word wasn't.
Her word wasn't anything. She wasn't able to identify him.
Her word. Oh.
Yeah. So she's not able to identify him during the lineup, and then they basically talk to him, and then he finally confesses. And he even says that he understands his rights, everything's fine. But were the Miranda's statements made voluntarily, and was he afforded all the safeguards to his rights provided by the Constitution of the United States and the law and the rules of the courts? So, he's convicted, right? Based off his confession. He had a signed confession, right? So, the Arizona Supreme Court ruled in April of 1965 that Miranda's confession was legitimate and that he had been aware of his rights. And then the ACLU gets involved. That's the American Civil Liberties Union. Okay? It caught the eye of an attorney with the ACLU, Robert Corcoran. Corcoran reached out to a prominent Arizona trial lawyer, John Flynn, who then takes over the case and recruits his colleague and expert in constitutional law, John Frank, to assist in appeal to the United States Supreme Court.
So these lawyers that could pick up any case they want, just to make sure I'm not confused, decide that they this comes across their desk or however it came to their attention, they decide that they want to defend and make a name out of themselves off of a rapist? Is that what you're telling me?
Yep.
Ha!
Yep. They end up seeing it and they're like, we're getting involved. Yeah.
Wow.
And it had already gone to the Arizona Supreme Court and they upheld the decision by the lower courts.
Well, their parents should be proud.
Yeah.
Wow.
So now, in his brief on behalf of Miranda, Frank writes, "The day is here to recognize the full meaning of the Sixth Amendment. The Sixth Amendment guarantees the rights of criminal defendants, including the right to a lawyer. Also at play was the Fifth Amendment, which protects defendants from being compelled to become witnesses against themselves.
Oh, I know the Fifth Amendment. I've seen the Chappelle Show.
That's one of the,
2, 3, 4, 5th.
The fifth.
He writes on the paper,
1, 2, 3,
FIF.
4, fifth. Oh man, one of the best shows of all time, right there.
Yeah.
So they say that even though Miranda had written his confession under a statement saying that he was fully aware of his legal rights, his lawyers argued those rights had not been made explicitly clear to him. So under the duress of detainment, they argued, his confession should not be deemed admissible. Now, here's the decision. So the Supreme Court under Chief Justice Earl Warren agrees. And in a 5-4 ruling, the Supreme Court reversed the Arizona Supreme Court decision and declared that Miranda's confession could not be used as evidence in the criminal trial. Yeah. Warren's 60-plus page written opinion, released June 13th of 1966, further outlined police procedure to ensure that defendants are clearly informed of their rights as they are being detained and interrogated. Those police procedures were encapsulated in the Miranda warning, which police departments nationwide soon began distributing on index cards to their officers so that they would recite them to suspects. And those warnings go as follows. You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of law. You have the right to an attorney. If you cannot afford an attorney, one will be provided for you. Do you understand the rights as I have read them to you? With these rights in mind, do you wish to speak with me?
Yeah, and my ignorant opinion on the Miranda rights were, I felt like if you got arrested and you weren't read your rights before then, that you were automatically, you could get out of the case. That's what I felt like. But
Right.
He educated me and told me that that's only if you get questioned, right? If you decide
Once
to
you've been
talk to
detained.
them, to tell them about your case, they have to read you your rights before you continue on with telling them, right? Is that what you were telling me yesterday?
All right, one more time.
You want me to say that again? I feel like I put that pretty well. I don't know if I could do it. I don't know if I could do it twice.
Yes, so basically the only time that you're read Miranda
Is if you want to talk to them, right?
yes, once you've now been officially detained or arrested, and then you're going to question you, or they're going to question you, or as law enforcement, if you're going to question somebody, the only time that you need to read Miranda is when that person is in custody, so being detained, arrested, and you're going to question them about the crime. Not under the initial, like you show up and you're just trying to figure out what's going on, you're just investigating it.
So if I get arrested, I've been told I'm being charged with something, and then I proceed to just spill my guts, then it's fine. But if they decide to ask a question about anything I'm telling them, they have to say the rights.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, if they decide to question what you're saying any further, then they must read the Miranda rights, otherwise it's fruits of the poisonous tree. And then anything that you say after the question's been asked is all fruits of the poisonous tree. Yeah.
You say a poisonous tree? Is that what you said?
Yeah, fruits of the poisonous tree. Yep.
Adam and Eve.
You believe what?
All
right.
I feel you, dog.
So in 2022, there was a ruling that limits Miranda. So in a 6-3 ruling on June 23rd of 2022, the Supreme Court said that law enforcement officers may not be sued for damages under federal civil rights law for failing to issue the Miranda warning to suspects. Police are to be shielded from lawsuits for failing to issue Miranda, the court says. But failure to issue the warning can still lead to an exclusion of evidence from trial. Justice Samuel A. Alito Jr., writing for the majority, said, "A violation of Miranda does not necessarily constitute a violation of the Constitution, and therefore such a violation does not constitute the deprivation of a right secured by the Constitution that would authorize a civil rights suit against a police officer."
So basically, Mr. Miranda gets away with everything. He gets off the charges for that case, right?
Okay, so yes, we're getting back to that right now. So Miranda's case was remanded in 1967 for a retrial, with the confession excluded from evidence. So while his Supreme Court case changed the course of U.S. criminal procedure, Miranda's own fate is not so altered. Okay?
Good.
So in his retrial, his ex-girlfriend now, Twila, offers testimony against him.
The woman that he raped, right?
No. This is
Oh,
girlfriend.
the girlfriend. I gotta
Twila is the girlfriend. We don't have the victim's name. And I'm okay with that. Not, being brought to light.
Yeah.
But so Twila, the girlfriend, reveals that while he was in prison, he told her about the crime. So he confessed it all to her. She then turns and gives testimony against him. Okay? So in October of 1967, Miranda is then convicted and sentenced to 20 to 30 years in prison. He was paroled December of 1975, but just over a month later, January 31st, 1976, he's stabbed to death in a Phoenix bar fight. Yeah. And then officers detained two acquaintances who were with Miranda that night for questioning before asking, each about that evening. Officers did recite the Miranda warning to both of them in Spanish. And then both men were released after questioning. Later, witness accounts would narrow the investigation to one of the men, but by that time, the main suspect had fled and was never apprehended. No charges were ever filed in his murder.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I know. Kind of crazy, isn't it?
Yes.
So yeah, he's not... at least he's held accountable for his actions.
I get that. Yeah.
Right? And then it does change things because there's definitely a good thing to read the Miranda rights.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And one thing that I'd like to point out to everybody is that your Miranda rights work anytime throughout that interview, right? That's a common misconception by people. There's people that are just like, nope, I'm just not talking, or, you don't, if you can invoke these rights at any point in time throughout an interview at, any of your rights. So the right to remain silent, the right to have an attorney.
Fifth. Are so many amendments
1, 2, 3,
in the
4,
Constitution. I can only choose one. Fifth.
That's great. Oh, man. So, that's the crazy story about Mr. Miranda.
That is nuts.
So, it is a pretty crazy story, but it sheds to light a little bit about...
Yeah. And I believe that's there for I've been arrested before, when you get scared, you get nervous in the situation, you start talking and stuff like that, and that's kind of that's a fair way for them to remind you, hey, don't be dumb. Don't make this worse than it needs to be.
Absolutely.
I
always think that it's good for people to at least find out what the officer wants to talk about. You don't have to answer the questions, but I like it, try to have the conversation, make sure that, you understand your rights, all of that stuff. Everybody should always be educated.
Mm-hmm.
And
on your rights, yeah. More than me. More than I was yesterday.
Everybody should be more educated than Seth on everything.
Yeah. It's not hard to do.
Education is a very important, fundamental part of life.
I know some things.
That don't matter at all. Yeah, who's on the starting lineup for the 49ers this year?
I can tell you at least 3.
I couldn't tell you a single one.
I lied. All that's coming to mind is Garoppolo, and I don't even.
Yeah, that's the quarterback, right?
Yeah, moving on.
Woohoo! Know that.
The one damn team I don't know about. I'm gonna bring it up. Go Colts.
Oh, that is absolutely awesome. Fantastic. All right. Well, any questions to me about Miranda?
Yeah, if you got any questions for me, I can let you know. Oh, are you asking me that?
I was asking you
thought we
if
were
you
talking
have
to the
any
fans.
further questions.
Oh.
So then that way, if I need to, I'll look it up right now and we'll let our listeners laugh at you
Well,
along
I think
with
you
me.
ought to. I think you ought to just real quick Google some famous crimes where the Miranda right thing got ruined. Like some people that got away with something because of the Miranda. Are there any famous cases
Ooh, I don't know.
where people got out of it? Well, I know you don't know, but that Google knows if you just type it in the dang laptop.
You want me to look that
That's
up
what you
right
asked
now?
me to
Just,
do, and I told you. You know what I mean?
Crime.
Yeah. You think you're better than me because you have a goatee?
It's glorious in
It
comparison
does-
to yours. Yeah,
As much
I
as
can still completely
hate
see
to
your
give
chin.
you props right now, it looks great.
And then those like 18, hairs that you've got falling off there.
I kind of want to touch it. What are you doing later? You busy? Your wife won't mind.
So I typed that
She
in.
comes busting in the freaking studio, and I'm just tickling your chin hair. That's not what it looks like.
No, yeah, get out of here! What are you doing?
He was checking me for ticks. She just opens the door. I'm like, God, that is thick.
Okay, so I looked this up, and all I'm finding is the case of Miranda. I typed in crime where Miranda was violated, and that's just the kidnapping and rape from Mr. Miranda when he did that, and was sentenced to that 20 to 30 years in prison. I could probably find some stuff because I'm pretty positive that a bunch of those like confessions have been kicked out, like suppressed, or found that they needed to be suppressed at the appellate court. I'm sure there's been cases like that, probably a ton of them.
Yeah.
But you'd probably have to go through specific cases instead of trying to search it for just like somebody violating Miranda. But it's even, like, because a lot of things can get suppressed for different reasons, various reasons as to why. But that's, a lot of people think that when you're arrested as the cuffs are going on, that people are reading your Miranda right away. Well, if there's no reason to question that subject any further, then there's no Miranda rights read.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
I
Because
was just always under the understanding if they didn't read them to you, it was automatically. You can do whatever you want as long as that cop forgot. You're good. You're good to go.
no.
Yeah. No, very, very confused for the first 30 years of my life. Thank you for changing that.
Yeah, that's not how that works whatsoever. So,
Shucks.
alrighty, guys. I think that's all that we got for you this week. If you got questions about Miranda, again, shoot us a question. Twitter, Facebook, both of them is Crackin' Crime. Make sure that when you're listening to the podcast, give us 5 stars. It really helps promote the show. It helps get it out to more people.
And follow those instructions on Facebook. I mean, WeatherTech's really nice. It looks good, stays
WeatherTech's
clean, easy, saves your carpet. I got a pair that you got me for Christmas a couple years ago.
Absolutely.
Really enjoy them.
Yeah.
They still
I got
look brand
WeatherTech
new.
and everything. Yeah. Tilson Customs is a great business. They sell a lot of WeatherTech. Yeah. I got WeatherTech everywhere.
I got a really handsome, facially hair challenged part-time employee up there named Seth also. He's a great guy. Buns of Steel.
And speaking of that, I need to get him off the books because he hasn't showed up for work in like 2 years. It's getting to be a problem.
It's been more like 1 year, He wasn't getting paid at all.
I think you got paid in like Pepsi.
For a long time there wasn't any beer in the fridge there whatsoever. So why would I show up? Him, not I.
Oh man, that's great. All right. Well, next week we're gonna do something a little bit different. Story wise, we'll figure it out. We never know.
I'm not allowed to know. I truly actually never know.
I know.
Until we start.
I talked to other people about it. I do not talk to Seth about it. But every once in a while, we'll be hanging out during the week, and he'll give me a hint, like when he starts questioning me about Miranda, and he's wrong. So then I just decide we're doing an episode on that.
This show is a Who's Got the Bigger Cock episode. Jamie won this time. I'll be back bigger and thicker than ever.
Oh, that's absolutely great. All right, well, we're getting out of here. Listen to that for that WeatherTech mats next week, because we're going to be doing that giveaway on the show. And then we'll probably post our winner on our Facebook page as well. But
give him a shout out.
Give him a shout out, definitely. Yeah. Absolutely. And then that person will just contact me then.
I said him. That was sexist of me. It could be a her.
It absolutely could be. That's why I said that person.
Yeah,
that person then could reach out to me, and then we'll figure out what type of vehicle for the mats, and then we'll get them to you. So, anyway, crazy excited about that. 5 stars on wherever you listen to your podcasts, Amazon, Spotify, Apple, iHeartRadio. We're on all of them. So
we're on iHeartRadio.
We're on iHeartRadio. Yeah.
Well, gosh dang,
Pandora.
I got that app. I could follow us to give us one more. I didn't even know.
Yeah.
I had no idea.
No, we're anywhere that you listen to your podcast.
I'm not allowed to know things,
I know.
So I don't.
Well, I try to tell you things. You don't always pay attention, and then you just want to go sit and watch a movie.
I got ADHD. You know? I didn't say it, Grandma. I didn't say it. Doesn't count. Love you. Have a good night.
Again, you guys have an absolutely great week. We'll be doing probably a possible bonus episode this week. And going to be putting something out on our Patreon this week also.
Yep.
I'm pretty excited
Patreons,
about that.
All one of them.
Mr. Mike Garcia from Texas, good buddy of mine. Gracias. Yes, I don't know why he keeps saying that all Spanish, just because of the...
Parlez-vous français?
There you go. Yeah, there you go. I think Mike does speak French.
Does he? We have that in common.
I think he does. I'll ask him. I'll text him and all that.
Maybe he does.
Mike, if you speak French, text me and let me know. And then we'll get that updated.
Yeah, then you come over, hang out, and you and me will speak in French and make fun of him, and he'll have no idea what's going on.
Alrighty, thank you guys. Till next week, unless you're a Patreon, you're going to get some of our bonus stuff this week. And we might throw something out to everybody as a bonus this week anyway. So thank you guys for listening. We'll catch you later.
Yeah, have a good week.